Hi. Yes, it's me. Finally. Oh, what a week last week was. It went by in a bit of a blur. It kind of started on the Monday. Oh, and Gigi has decided that he wants to growl at somebody. Anyway, it started on the Monday. As you know, the handyman, Trev, hi Trev, was coming to put the wardrobe back together and to move the white units upstairs. And I've known Trev for a long, long, many years, more years than I care to think, but he came in and he said to me, "You okay?" So I said, "Yeah, I think so, why?" He said, "You look awful." And I thought, oh gee, thanks, you know. I was aiming for a little bit, you know, nicer than awful. And I said, "No, not too bad, I feel okay." And then at lunchtime it kind of started. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness me. I'll be polite and call it the stomach flu. Anyway, it went on kind of all week. Just when I thought I was okay, I think I might eat something, I'm feeling a bit hungry now. And then when you eat it, you regret it, don't you? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. We don't need to go into too many details about that. And the weather hasn't helped because, you know, just when you're not feeling your best and not feeling 100% and the weather keeps raining and, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, enough of that. I am feeling bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, back. I've even got little notes to say what I was going to say. Can't read said notes because they're over there. She says, reading notes. Oh yes, right. Another lovely gift. 2 cushions. Thank you very much, Grace. Aren't they gorgeous? Squashy and so soft. Beautiful. And of course, my colour. My colour. I must admit, when they arrived, I wasn't like 100% appreciative. I was like, oh yes, they're very pretty. But it's only now I'm beginning to sort of see the beauty of them because, you know, you see them in a better eye, let's just say. So they're gorgeous. They've got elephants and they're purple. What more could I wish for? Right. Sorry, Grace, I didn't mean to throw it over there. And my replacement bee came. Grace sent me a bee because Manchester is, the symbol is the worker bee. That's my Isle of Manchester, worker bee. I was going to have a tattoo at one stage, but I kind of chickened out of it. No, I have enough pain without putting tattoos on my body. So that's my little bee. The first one arrived unfortunately broken. It had been squashed by Royal Mail's machinery and the pin was broken. So there's my new bee now, buzzing away quite happily. It's the only bee I'll let buzz quite happily near me because I'm actually allergic to bees, but maybe that bee will keep the other bees away. And as for what I'm wearing, it's kind of supposed to be sort of bohemian. But to me, it reminds me, with all the little buttons down the front and all the embroidery, it reminds me of another era, you know, like Elizabethan, Jacobean. I know that Zoe, 24 karat crochet, she's into this, not Renaissance, what is it, what do they call it? Reenactment. She's into all that, so I'm sure she'll tell me what era I'm supposed to be at. Probably a combination of a few eras. And then my lovely wooden beads, which I also match. Right, we'll talk about the elephant in the room. I finished this cardigan off. Although looking at it, it's in order to go with another one. I think I actually put a shell edging on the other border. So I might have not finished it yet, maybe not quite finished. It's from Doris Chan book, the Cinnabar from the Everyday Crochet book. I hope you can. Woo! keep doing this, and then when I look back at the video, I find that, you know, it's not, the cardigan's not even in shot. So I'm just hoping that you can see it. I sent her one that had been made for someone else. Somebody who ordered 2 of them and never paid me for them. So-called friend. No friend no longer. It's not as if she was short of money or anything, she just didn't pay me. But that's by the by. She didn't get the cardigans, by the way. I'm not that daft. I don't send things off if they're not paid for. I may look a bit, but I'm not that stupid. Anyway, this will be winging its way off to the US very, very shortly. But I had to send away for some 2 more balls to finish it because I miscalculated. So of course I had to put my order up, and because I'd ordered this from Derrimores, I ordered the rest of it from Derrimores. Now, people have called Derrimores in the past and I've always defended them, but I must admit this delivery was poor. Took a couple of emails and where's my order, and getting all, you know, responses back saying, oh, we've had a sale and we're very, very busy and the warehouse can't cope, blah, blah, blah. But I've never had an order take 2 weeks before to arrive, so I was quite disappointed with you, so shame on you, Derrimores. I think you've just lost me custom. Anyway, that's what the colours that I bought, plus another couple, and you'll see what for in a moment. It's the Stylecraft double knitted. I'm not going to go through every colour of it, but it's a variety of colours, and they do heaps more colours. But I do like the Stylecraft. So because I'm cheap and I don't like paying for postage, I put those on like. And what am I making actually? Well, where's my pattern? I'd seen this pattern when the magazine arrived and liked it. And then I watched Claudia, what's she called? I don't know what her channel's called, but it's Claudia. And she was wearing that. So I looked inside and it tells me that it was in any kind of double knitting. Well, I've got any kind of double knit. I've got Stylecraft double knitting, but whether I'm a much tighter crocheter, I don't know. I know I've not finished it yet, but I'm on the next to the last colour. And there's absolutely no way in the world that even with another colour on, that's going to fit anything other than a child. I don't know. Maybe I'm crocheting tightly. I don't know what I'm doing. Or maybe this Stylecraft is finer. I don't know. I've got one more colour to go around the outside of it. Those are the last 2 colours. Sorry, I'm trying not to get my wool in my coffee. Those are the last 2 colours of it. I know that's Emperor. And this one is Violet. So this is what, as I say, I'm doing, but it's not going to fit me. I don't know what I would have to do. I wouldn't want really to use a much bigger hook because it would tend to look very, very holy, wouldn't it then? That wants to need to go through the other side to be darned in. So, guess I'll maybe just go back to doing the plain old granny squares. Using these colours, but doing granny squares instead. Yes. And those of you who were so kind to suggest where we got the pattern from, I did manage to get a hold of the pattern. Well, the pattern booklet that Sue was so, you know, absolutely going mad to get. I got it from Annie's as a digital download. It's the Indian Springs Cocoon Jacket. It's by Doris Chan. So that's the, no doubt we will see it in its finished stage at some time or other. From Sue. Heard from Sue, her weather was quite good and hopefully she's coming tomorrow. Well, I got a thing in the post the other day, a nice squashy little envelope, and I'm thinking, what is that? Opened it up and we've got a little card inside it, and it still wasn't ringing any bells, not my birthday, not anything. Anyway, it's from a lovely lady called Margaret. And you know the problem I've been having with keeping my basket, you know, the supermarket shopping baskets on top of my little teeny basket on the scooter, because every time I went round a corner everything slid off of the basket, everything slid off. So she very kindly sent me, I should have brought you one to look at, it's a Velcro strip. It's like a sort of a hold kind of thing at one end and a point at the other, and you thread it through the basket and Velcro it on. So she sent me 5 strips of that. I think it's 5 or 6, Margaret, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, tried it for the first time, not today, yesterday. Worked well, worked a treat. I had a little bit of dexterity problems, you know, my fingers not working too much, getting it to stick through, but once it was on, yeah. So then, let me consult my notes, see what else I'm supposed to be telling you. Yeah, we've done the Velcro strips, the cushions and the bee, we've done the square of crochet. Crochet magazines. And I've just realised that one part of one of the magazines is in the other room, but it's just big crochet, you know, using massive crochet hooks, which they gave you 2 free ones, and massive wool. You make these baskets and things like that, and cushions. But the booklet that came free is in the other room. First of all, though, I did have, I got this one, which was inside crochet. Glasses are, don't know where, oh, way over there. So it's issue whatever, anyway. It's that issue. And I do love that, although I would have to amend it because a lot of it is done crochet only in the back loops or the front loops, whatever. And whenever I do that, I really stretch out one of the loops, and it, instead of looking like ridges, it looks wholly. I don't get it to look quite right. So I won't be doing it in the back loops only, if I do it. I do like the colours though, it's nice and rainbow, and be a good stash buster, wouldn't it? So what am I looking at now? Oh, that's talking about the Yarndale in Skipton. It's a festival. I do hope you can see these things because unfortunately it's dull. So I've had to put the light on, you know, the backlight behind. And it tends to bleach everything out. As I'm sure Emma from Potter and Bloom has discovered by now. They tend to wash everything out. I mean, that's quite cute, isn't it? That's a summer fruit basket. I quite like the idea of all these, you know, great big chunky baskets. Huge things. I might make one. Now that's the sweater. I do love it, although I don't like that yoke so low. I'd have to fill it up a little bit. But I just love the colours and the fact that it's so stripy and whatnot. I usually find out that the camera's focused itself by the time I'm moving it away. So I never quite know where to put it. If I put it like too close, it bleaches it out and then it fades back in. Don't like the bag because it looks very droopy. Started watching a new blog. I must remember to try and put a link on my Facebook page, Urban Gypsy page. And she'd made some absolutely lovely bags done with the corner to corner stitch. And she's a UK crocheter as well. I must remember to. I found her quite by accident, you know, you do when you wander off the track and you find them by accident. I just want to do that one. Neighbours going by, don't know them. That's for the necklace. My neighbour next door's gone off with her brother and the kids to Blackpool today. I hope the weather stays nice for her, because we've had nothing but rain. We had one beautiful day when I did that video showing the beautiful skies, and it was gorgeous, glorious. It was like, yes, this is what England should look like, yeah. And then of course the day afterwards it rained. There's a pretty skirt if you've got the figure. I mean, obviously I'm too old and knackered for things like that, but they're so pretty, aren't they? And then we've got, this will be hard for you to see because it's navy blue, and as I said, the light's faded, unfortunately. It's a shawl with a white edging, navy shawl with a white edging. These are, if you're amigurumi minded, which you know as I'm not, little ice cream cones with faces on them. And then this one is actually a crochet sun hat. I must admit, I looked all over the picture first before I decided which was the crochet bit. It's actually the big sun hat. I was thinking, well, where's the crochet? Where is it, you know? And that's a little girl's t-shirt, whatever you want to call it, little vest, done in stripes. Right. This one says playing with texture. It's a mystery shawl. I would never start these mystery shawls until it's the last piece in it. You know, what's the point? You know, if you don't know whether you're going to like it, if you don't know what the picture looks like. You know, starts off like as a, I think it's going to be one of those that looks like a wedge of cheese, you know, that sort of shape. Well, a sort of wonky slice of cheese. That's the usual granny stitch poncho for a little girl with the pom-poms on the end of it. It's been many years since I made a poncho for myself or anybody else. What have we got here? Another bag, a glasses case holder, and a little sweater for a child. We've got a throw, some kind of a donut, and a parrot. And then that's a top done in sort of squares, but not in, oh, well, you know what I mean, turn on the side. Squares turned on the side. These are the instructions. I do like that Fiesta top though, but I would have to make that neck a little higher up. I mean, even if you wear a vest top underneath it, which I would have to, because I can't stand the back of my neck being cold for some strange reason. And I think that's more or less what's in here. Just instructions for everything. See if there's any nice adverts for anything. Sing amongst yourselves. No, that seems to be it. And then yesterday when I went to the supermarket, I found this one which is called Crochet Now. It came with 2 wooden crochet hooks, quite large ones, and it also came with a booklet that's just for great huge baskets and cushions and things, done in super thick yarn. I mean, super thick yarn is okay, but it's super thick prices. And you know, bear in mind you need a lot of it, and a lot of it's like roving, and I would be afraid it would all fluff up. So let's have a look. Show us your makes. Nothing too impressive there. Wensleydale Gems, that's just showing what colours there are in the West Yorkshire Spinners. Those are, I don't know whether you can see them or not, they're not really colourful. It's a mountain range of cushions. I hope you can see them, otherwise you're just going to be looking at a grey page. Or a big white page, depending if the light's bleaching it out. I wish I had a camera that showed me what you were looking at, but it doesn't, you see. So my work is always hit and miss. That's the Storm shawl. That's the shawl that's also on the front cover. Looks like it's done in one of those ombre yarns that fade, you know, from one shade to another. Yes, Bergeret de France. It takes one bell, so it's probably something fine. There's a Mountain View blanket. They're sort of big and beautiful. Just called, you know, don't know what they are actually. Cushions, whatever. If I'm not impressed with something, I'm like, what is it? Whatever it is. This is supposed to be a super easy bobble beanie. And this, I'm sorry, I don't like either the toy or the child in the child's jumper. It kind of looks too big for the child, but in another way it doesn't, because it's not too big on the chest. It's just too long in the arms and too baggy at the neckline. But you couldn't really put a bigger child in it because the chest wouldn't, it'd have to be a very thin child. And then that's sort of a horse effort thing, whatever. I'm sorry, but it's just not impressing me at all. Triangle mesh scarf. Sometimes you get a magazine and you're like, oh yeah, I like that, oh I like that, I like that. And other times you're going, This magazine is a These are, they look like knitted, but they're actually crochet. Again, colour work. Mittens and hat. I have to be so careful with anything with colour work because I pull it too tightly. And they finish up with absolutely no give in them. Excuse me licking my fingers, but it's the only way I can turn over. That does not float my boat at all. I don't know whether it's the colours or what it is, but I wouldn't thank me for putting one of them on my sofa. I thought, when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's quite nice, but it's all bubbles. I am progressing a little bit with the order I'm making, the sweater with bobbles on it. I've got almost up to the armholes, but it's over there, I forgot to bring it with me. I mean, if Sue comes tomorrow, I'll have something to show you then, won't I? But I mean, I do like the cardigan, I just hate doing bobbles. And it appears to be all bobbles. I don't mind doing the odd bobble, but not a whole cardigan full of bobbles. Not me at all. That's a Sirdar pattern, but it's to buy. These are all one. It's advertised as some new yarn. But it's saying supersize style, so maybe it's, I don't know whether they're talking about the wool being supersized or the fact that they've done larger size patterns, I'm not too sure. I do like that. It's nothing to it really, it's just a plain, isn't it, shawl. I think I just like the colours that they've chosen, but that's the colour of the yarn, isn't it? It's New Season Boho from Signet Yarns. Signet Boho Spirit. 4 balls of Zen. That's to make that. Yeah, again, that's, I don't know if it's the colours or what it is, but it's supposed to be hugs and kisses. Doesn't do anything for me. Rose Garden blanket. Again, it's quite nice, but there's dozens more out on the market that are just as nice. I mean, I do like, everybody would think I was against amigurumis. I do like amigurumis, but I just don't like making them. Gigi, what are you doing? He looks very uncomfortable. He's sort of like hanging off the end of the chair, hasn't it? As if he was going to fall over. His family are coming back tomorrow, so he doesn't know that yet. Clear Mountain baby bib. Again, the amount of bibs my son used to go through in the course of one day. Terry toweling, cheapest as possible, was what I used to buy. Because no matter how good you are at washing, they always finish up with stains, don't they? I didn't know what they, well, maybe they don't put it in baby food now, but I don't know what they used to put in baby food, but it used to stain like anything. Right, Nordic Stitches cowl. And in any case, no matter how careful you are, they always finish up a bit of a grey colour. I prefer to buy cheap bibs and after a little while just throw them away and get some fresh ones. Even though I was poor, I still couldn't bear, like, you know, grubby looking, gungy looking bib things. Oh, they're talking about crochet patterns, workshops here and everything like that. All very lovely, but I mean, Zoe is talking about coming up here to Manchester, not to stay with me obviously because I've not got a spare room, but to, you know, see if we can just organise just a little day together with people, or a little weekend for people. It won't be any classes or anything like that, it's just be a great big giant, I can't say knit and natter because it'll be a crochet and natter, you know. So I don't know what we're going to plan. I'll let you know if there's anything that gets set in concrete. If anybody wants to come up and join us. It will be a child-free zone, I'm afraid. Because it's not so bad if kids are teenagers and they'll behave, but it's hard to concentrate on chatting, isn't it? And doing your crocheting when there's like a little herd of kids galloping around. I mean, no matter how well-behaved children are, they do tend to gallop about a bit. We wouldn't want to get in trouble with the hotel, you know, by kids playing chase all through the corridors. So we decided for the sake of our sanity it would be a child-free zone. But I will tell you more about that when we know something more definite. But Zoe is definitely going to come up to Manchester, and hopefully Sue will be able to go, and hopefully Kelly will be able to come for even part of the time if her children are in school. I'm sure Christina would join us, and whoever else who's willing to, if you're willing to travel and spend overnight with Zoe in the hotel somewhere in Manchester. But as I say, it's not going to be a crochet workshop, it's not going to be a tutorial, it's just going to be a huge, well, chatter probably, swapping ideas, you know, meeting each other, people that you only know through, you know, YouTube or Facebook or whatever. So we'll see what it was like, yeah. Kelly's not been well either, but she's on the mend again. Sue apparently had a lovely week in Scotland. No, she went to Wales for a change. Apparently the weather wasn't too bad, so she'll tell you all about that tomorrow. Not going to steal her thunder. I don't know whether she's had time to do crocheting while she was there, or whether she's been off out and about exploring or whatever she's been doing. My next door, screaming. Don't all faint, but he went out with his strimmer the other day. Trim part of his field down. It's no longer a foot high, but he's just left all the grass, you know, so it's all going to be all mulched down because it's raining again. So what else am I going to say? Well, I'm going to tell you about the people that I've been watching in a later video, because I can't remember their names right now, so it's not fair for me to say, oh yeah, I watched this lady and she was this, and yeah. The only one I want to mention is because it brought back such lovely memories for me. Sian, you know, Sian's Crafty Corner. She was showing the bracelets that she'd made in the past, you know, the ones that you weave and knot and weave and knot. And that just sent me right back into memories. When we were younger, we used to go to St.Ives. I used to go with a friend of mine, well, my best friend at the time, Anne, her mum and dad. The first time we went in a caravan. And the second time we went, we rented a little cottage. My goodness, it was tiny. And if you won't have been to St.Ives in, oh, there's two St.Ives. It's not the bigger St.Ives, it's the little St.Ives that's down Devon or Cornwall. I'm sure someone will put me right. I can't remember, it's one of the two. And it's a tiny little fishing village, or it was when I went down. I don't think they can expand it because it's so small. But the second time we went down in this tiny little cottage we rented. It was kind of one room and a kitchen downstairs. I'm trying to remember where the bathroom was, and I can't remember whether it was downstairs or upstairs, because there was two tiny bedrooms upstairs. And it was right on a street that sloped like that. So where our window was, all we saw was people's feet going by. Very interesting view. But we weren't in the cottage very often, because the week we were there, or was it 2 weeks we were there? It was beautiful weather. But it was the era of surfing in St.Ives. I know you've got surfing in America and it's quite a big thing, but it was kind of about the Beach Boys time, you know. I'd say I'd be about 15, so we're probably talking about, what, 45, 50, 55, about, it wouldn't be 1960, because then I would be, what would it be? Can't count. 45 to 55, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, yeah. So it would be about the late 50s, would it be? Going up to 60, 1960. Anyway, what I was crafty even back then. I used to do crocheting, as I've told you before. But St. Ives was like a tiny narrow street. There's hardly room for one car to go down. It's all cobbled and it slopes down, and all the little streets go down to the harbour. Very, very picturesque, if you ever look it up on the internet. And they had tiny little shops, and they were all selling, you know, for the tourists. It was all craft work and everything. It was mostly pottery, a lot of paintings. And you could, when you went down off these little side streets, you could actually see little houses that had been converted into a studio, and if you popped your head in, you were watching them actually doing the painting, doing the pottery, doing whatever. One of my favourite of all shops was one down by the harbour. And it was very much, you know, peace, love, and they had incense sticks burning the whole time. You know, like patchouli was the perfume of the time. And I used to love that shop, love it to death. It was full of cheesecloth clothes, and what brought this to mind was with Sian, you know, was all these woven bracelets and things like that were all for sale. And then there was lots of, it wasn't so much beads that was the fashion back then, it was pendants. And they were on a cord, and they were painted I don't know whether it was flint or some kind of a flat stone. They were very thin stone, and they used to paint on them. I had a beautiful one with a cat on. I kept it for years, and then for some reason or other I gave it away. And they used to have crochet things that were very, very hippie-ish. Everything was sort of in cream and sort of stringified or cottonified. And they had these hand-done shawls back then. Everything was big, thick fringing on everything. And the shop was only tiny, but it was so full of all kinds of jewellery, clothing and everything. And when I saw Sean's bracelet, it just took me straight back in my memories to this fantastic place. I mean, it's all changed now. We did go back, actually, when I got married. I went there on the honeymoon. And even from that stage, not even 10 years or whatever, it had changed so much. But it was just the atmosphere. People just wandered about in flip-flops and that, and they seemed to spend the whole summer, young people that were hardly older than me, just surfing and living the life, you know. And there was they'd do whatever they could to make a few shillings, I suppose, just to feed themselves or do whatever. And it was like a carefree life. All the girls would just wear a vest top and very cut-off shorts and flip-flops. And they kind of lived in those all day long, or they lived in, and they had their hair was always blonde. I don't know if it's because they were out in the sea a lot and sun bleached it. And they just had the hair dragged back in plaits and things like that. I remember going home thinking, that is the life for me. It was the hippie in me back then. I would love to be there, selling my crochet in one of those tiny little shops to all the tourists. And then there used to be a young man that used to sit on the approach road to the beach, and he was weaving and plaiting all these little bracelets, but he was using teeny weeny minuscule little beads. But he was using like these beaded strands as if they were just a strand, you know. He was like, oh, they reminded me very much like Navajo Indian kind of work and things. Because everything back in Navajo Indian has fringe, you know, so it's kind of all interwoven into this boho look and everything. But that's what Sean's video just reminded me of. A time in my life where I just loved it. I was crocheting for a boutique, I think I told you. Everything was boho, everything was new. Crochet was the latest fashion. Hardly anybody could do it, so like it elevated overnight from being granny's mats to being, oh, you can crochet. It was like, wow, you can crochet. I was suddenly like, oh, Jan can crochet. You know, and it was just such a different, all of a sudden I was like fashionable, I was trendy, I was in with it all. Those were the days. But the trouble is I've never really moved on. I still love my velvet. I'm wearing brown trousers, velvet trousers. And this is sort of a plush, a velvet, you know, with the lacy edging sleeves and things. I've just never moved with the times. You know, for example, like this, my bullseye sweater. I've got so many of these little vest patterns in my stash, you know, just done with like granny squares and that. I will be getting around to the stash room. I am sort of walking my books up the stairs at the moment. When I say that, walking them up, I take a pile and I put them on the bottom of the stairs. And then every time I go up, I either take one pile or I move one up another step. So the ones that are at the bottom are slowly sort of moving up the steps, you know. So eventually they'll make it to the top of the steps. And Sue says she's going to help me because half of them are now up in the room. She's going to help me to put them on the shelving. My pattern folders, my loose patterns in the folders are up there. The ones that are finished, but of course I've now got to, all the ones that I've taken out in the past and they're now finished up in drawers have all got to be put back in these sheets. And I've got some new folders to put the rest in. So it's going to get there very, very slowly. I don't know whether to start like on my dining room before I go any more in the craft room, because now 2 of the units have moved out the dining room. I can really sort of hoover around where everything was and try to make sense in there first. I just don't know which way to do it. But as I say, Sue's going to come tomorrow, so Sue's got this kind of mind that I don't have. She'll look at things, yeah, that would be, you know, great over there, and that'll be great there, you know. Whereas I tend to sit on a chair going, now I wonder, if I put that there, I wonder. And like half an hour later, I'm still wondering, sitting on my chair. Whereas Sue's going, yeah, I think that'll go there, and that'll go there, that'll go over there. She's just got it more sussed. But once she starts me off like on the right track, then I can, you know, yeah, I know where you're going now with that, so yeah, I can see it, I can visualise it now. I mean, I used to be able to do that, but I think it's like going older, isn't it? Your brain is like a bit more foggy. Or as I say, they don't know whether I've got fibromyalgia, and I don't really care whether I do or I don't, because it's just a label, isn't it, to how you feel that day. But apparently one of the symptoms is getting a bit of brain fog, which I do get from time to time. It's not that you forget things, it's just I don't seem to see things like as crisp as I used to. I used to have everything categorised, and it was black and it was white. And now things have gone like fuzzier into shades of grey in between. That's how I can explain it. Is I mean to do things, but my brain goes a bit fuzzier and it just goes off on its own. My mother would call it dolly daydreaming. Oh, that reminds me, I woke up this morning, it was awful. I was back in the shop with my mum and my dad, and we had 2 doors that went into the shop. And I can remember I was back with my mum and dad, so I wasn't even married. And I was trying to shut the shop because we were going home. It was like we shut at 5:30. And people kept coming in the shop and coming in the shop, and I'm trying to get them to go out saying, we're closed, we're closed. And as fast as I was shutting them out of one door, they were coming in another door. And my mum's saying to me, the rent needs to be paid, money's money, we can't turn people away. And I'm saying, but it's 8:20 and I'm supposed to be going out tonight. And I woke up with my brain in such a tizzy, and I was still trying to shut these doors and shut these customers out, which I would never do, obviously. In real life I wouldn't be shutting customers out the door. But that was probably my attitude when I was younger. It was like, I want to go home now, I want my tea, I'm going out tonight, you know, look at the time, mother. Because we always used to have an influx of people who always came on the last minute when we were about to close the shop. And it used to irritate me. It wasn't that they'd been working all day and they were popping in at the last minute. I was talking about housewives who'd come after they'd made the tea and seen the kids were all right, and then they decide to come out. Whereas they'd been in all day and they could come in all day. That's what used to make me angry. It wasn't the fact that they were such late customers, it was the fact that they had all day to come. You know, why come at the last minute? And my mother used to say, stop getting angry, they're your bread and butter. You need people like that to pay your rents and stuff like that. Well, in our case it was a mortgage for the shops. You know, but she called it rent anyway. You need them to pay the rent, you know, for the shop and everything. Stop turning people away, you can't turn people away with money. My mother was very much a people pleaser, you know, for customers and that. Very, very much a people pleaser. Whereas I was a little bit more strict. That's probably one reason why the shop didn't do as well when I was there, because I wasn't prepared to stay all hours of the night just to serve a few customers and give up all of my personal life just to, you know, serve the customers. I wanted like 9 to 5:30, and after that I wanted to go home, you know, because I had paperwork to do when I went home to do with the shop. I didn't, you know, when you have a shop, when you close, you don't go home and relax. You've still got to bring the paperwork and the stuff home with you. and do your books up to date, because if you leave them a couple of days, then they're not done up to date, and then there's a big panic when it's time for the audit and it's time for... If you've never had a shop, you don't understand what I'm talking about. But anyway, I'm going to go now because tomorrow Sue will be coming. So I wanted to get my little bit over and said before Sue comes to tell you all about her holiday in Welsh Wales. So I'm sure she's got lots to tell you. And I'm hoping she's managed to fit some crochet in. Whether she's managed to fit the one she was wanting to do, I don't know. We'll see. When she turns up, we will see. Because when I got the pattern for her, and she's going, oh, I need to look in my pile to see if I've got any yarn in my stash. I mean, I did ask her if she'd found a wool shop, but she said no, she'd found a craft shop, but I'm sure she's going to tell you all about that tomorrow. So I'm going to go now because it's going to cut off any minute now if it's not already cut off. So I'll say farewell. Thank everybody for all your good wishes for me and everything like that. And I will just say goodbye and see you all tomorrow. Bye now.